You know what I like to do?
Talk into a microphone?
Yeah, and also get in on the action with sports
Have a big
interaction.
head.
Yeah. Wear bare feet in the freezing cold.
Be a dad.
Friggin' wear V-necks that are actually
It's not a V-neck, okay? Sports interaction. NHL, NBA, MLB, so much more. It's the friend I don't have, clearly. Crazy odds, best live and play. Download the app in Ontario. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or you can head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly and get better friends.
Yell at the computer. He does that too.
They've created extremely successful regular season teams. Nobody is denying that. And everybody's happy about that. We're thrilled for that. They've set records in points. They've set records in goals. It's incredible. That's fantastic.
I'm not happy about it. It makes it worse.
Okay, but let me finish my point. I know what you're saying, and I want to hear it, but I'm setting you up.
Adam, fuck your point.
I think that when we have the discussion about the referees and the way the refereeing changes from regular season to playoffs, it takes the onus. It allows people to look at expected goals or cycle chances or offensive zone possession and go, well, there's the story. They got jobbed by a goalie. And I have to be honest with you guys. I just don't believe that. And I'll tell you why. Here's the $11.5 million elephant in the room. Austin Mathews did not score against the Florida Panthers. And I know that Austin Mathews is the guy we can never criticize. We're fucking hard on Mitch. Fucking hard on Willie. Tavares has been watched for 3 years for some reason, even though he's been a point-a-game player ever since that crazy knee to the head from Corey Perry, which was accidental. Austin Mathews, I don't care what kind of injuries there are. I don't care what is happening.
Top line minutes.
The guy is the best player in this franchise's history. If he does not score, they don't win. End of story, guys. How many series did the Edmonton Oilers win without Wayne Gretzky scoring a goal? How many series did the Detroit Red Wings win without Steve Yzerman, Brendan Shanahan, et cetera, scoring goals? Or the Blackhawks with Kane and Taves? Or the LA Kings with Jeff Carter and whoever else they had? They had their band of merry men. The Pittsburgh Penguins. How many series has Sidney Crosby not scored in?
And this is what it comes down to, Adam. It doesn't need to be about the individual player. It doesn't need to be about Austin Mathews or Mitch Marner or Tavares. It's the combination does not work. They can't and they won't. Mathews, on July 1st, will be eligible for a raise.
And he'll get it.
He'll get a bigger piece of the pie. You think their chances of winning when he gets that bigger piece is going to go up if they keep the rest of the guys around him? They can't do it. They can't do it with this group. It doesn't need to be that he's a bad player.
No, he's not. He's a great player.
But if teams are able to zero in on this guy and lay a beating on this guy and neutralize this guy year after year, and it's like whack-a-mole. You could point to years where he was stellar. Rest of the guys were quiet. Mitch Marner has a great game. Next game, the rest of the guys are quiet. Tavares has a Herculean game. Rest of the guys are quiet. Willie's been the most consistent one by far. And Riley's been pretty good too. The combo of these three dudes making over $10 million does not work. We have enough proof of concept that we can say definitively it does not work.
We've seen 4 years of it.
The
5 years of
best
it.
they've done is 5 wins out of 16. It's done. It's over. It's finished. One of them's gone.
Let me throw a stat at you. And this is from producer Drew. Marner's playoff totals in games 5 through 7 in his career. He's played 8 game 5s. He's had 4 assists total. He's played 6 game 6s, 1 goal, 1 assist total. And he's played 4 game 7s, 2 assists total. And that's not to single out Mitch Marner and go, he's a bad hockey player. We all know he's fantastic. But I got to ask the question, if your best players are not able to find ice, does it not tell you as a general manager that you are not setting them up for success? Now, I know that they have to find success no matter what because they're paid that way. But let's be honest here. The reality of the situation is you've got Mathews, who's a big boy, but not overly physical and isn't going to get into fights. He's got, broken wrists and reconstructed this, whatever. You got Marner, who is still 6 feet tall, but because NHL players are huge, he looks tinier out there. And Michael Bunting or Callie Yarncroke, who are both mid-sized players who play, gritty games, but they don't drive any play. They don't crush any bodies. Michael Bunting talks a lot, but I don't think anyone's intimidated by Michael Bunting. At a certain point, I want to go full caveman on this one. At a certain point, do we not look at this and go, we need to get somebody on this team on the first line who can skate with these guys and terrorize anybody that goes near them?
No, your top guys need to be the guys who terrorize. Kucherov
Terrorizes people.
is a crazy person.
Yeah, he is. You're right.
Yeah.
Look at the Avalanche from last year. Nathan McKinnon is nuts.
Oh, he's got
out of
those
his
eyes.
mind. Yeah. he's got eyes that suggest he used to pick wings off flies for fun when he was bored in school. Gabriel Landeskog will fuck your day up. Go through all the cup champs. Ryan O'Reilly, a few years ago, along with the rest of that Blues team, will fuck your day up. The Boston Bruins, need I say more? The Washington Capitals, Ovechkin will run through your chest. Who won in 2017?
So Sidney Crosby's tough as nails too.
Yes, and
so is it. Malkin's a psycho. Like, he's crazy.
he's out of his mind. You just got to have an element of fuck you to your game that this team does not possess. You can't teach it. It's over.
Okay, so
These guys might win cups somewhere else, but they're going to have to go to a team that has those players.
yeah.
They can't do it together. The combination doesn't work. It's
I
over.
agreed, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of them win a cup elsewhere. By the way, the Toronto Maple Leafs season ends with 7 consecutive games in which they scored only 2 goals. Mm-hmm. You tell me offense isn't a problem. This is Luke Fox. It's the driest offensive stretch the Leafs have had in 13 years. And by the way, 5 of those 13 years, the Leafs didn't make the playoffs. Like, that is, guys, at the end of the day, I mean, that if the Leafs are an offense-driven team, and they have been, you're not scoring in the playoffs. We know that they're not. And don't show me the Tampa stats because they're skewed because of game 2, where they had 7 goals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The reality of the situation is this is just not working. And so the question now is, obviously, like I said, does the GM stay? Does the coach stay? And is the core 4, we can and we will, experiment over? And yes, we include Riley in that, but everybody calls him the core 4, so I'm just throwing it out there. Mm-hmm. We're going to know the answer to these questions, guys, in the next 8 weeks. It's impossible to know now, but what I will say is that the Leafs are probably going to be one of the stories of the next 8 weeks. They always are, but like in real terms, this is going to be quite dramatic. We have rumors of infighting at the top between Dubas and Shanahan, and we've had those for 18 months or more. Mm-hmm. Like not just not getting along. Did you see them in the same box once this playoffs?
Yes.
Game 5.
And
Or was it 4?
A couple. There's multiple games. Yeah.
It was rare.
Shanny was very front and center before.
Yep.
Wasn't on camera a lot this playoffs. I thought that was interesting.
Front and center when they forced Game 7 against the Bruins. I think it was 2018. Fuck you, Backus, fucking piece of shit. You could read his lips clear as day.
And you know he's invested.
You know he's invested.
But Shanahan, and Steve pointed this out in his video, his first move as president of this team in 2014 when he was brought in by Tim Lewicki, who's now building arenas with his brother, with Jeff Bezos. Shanny, his first move was to re-sign Randy Carlyle.
Isn't that he's been here so long?
His main free agency goal that year was to get David Bolin locked up to a 5-year contract, and the Panthers were the ones that said, we'll pay him more. And he went to the Panthers and he stunk.
And then got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. This has been a very long run for Brendan Shanahan. Kyle Dubas has been, rightly, the face of criticism for people that don't believe in this experiment that they're pulling for a long time. But who put him there?
This is from Wikipedia. On April 11th, 2014, Shanahan was officially announced as the Leafs president and alternate governor. Our podcast had been around for less than a year. And in 2 weeks, we'll celebrate our 10-year anniversary. They've won one playoff round. How does he keep his job?
Well, and so, like, I actually think, I'll be honest with you, I think Kyle Dubas has done the best job that he possibly can in attempting to make this era work. I think that the additions of Achari and O'Reilly were fantastic. Mm-hmm. I think the value you get on Jake McCabe's contract, like give Jake McCabe a full preseason with this team to understand the system, to understand why they always do that stupid fucking back pass possession bullshit that drives me fucking crazy all the time and allows the other team to get set up so they can't make an off. That's, you know what drives me fucking nuts about that? What? Is it gives the other team a chance to stand at their fucking blue line and go, all right, we'll wait for you. Whenever you want to come, we'll wait for you.
They try to get them...
Because they don't have a what? They don't have a what? What don't they have?
They try to get them stationary and they try to cut through them like butter. I don't know what you're trying to say.
They don't have a fucking forecheck.
No.
If the Leafs dump and chase, they're not going to hurt you.
No.
They're going to go.
Yeah.
So if they had a scary forecheck, you could do what you were just talking about there, get them stationary, or you could do something else. And you could play that situation based on the parameters on the ice, the factors on the ice. But if you only have one option, it's pretty easy to stop it. So here's what you're never going to be able to answer today, but in the next 8 weeks, we'll know. We're going to know if one of these guys gets PK Subban, and I'm talking about, remember when Mark Bergevin's like, we're not trading PK, but we are listening to offers.
Oh, I was like, given a TV job?
No.
I don't know.
No, we're going to, I'm sure one of them could, but I think with the Leafs.
Well, they're available every spring.
Let's say Dubas sticks around, okay? Because we don't know. There's been a lot of rumors about Pittsburgh and about him and Keith going.
I think Dubas stays. I would love to give Dubas the opportunity to rebuild the sides of the core. You know, I would like to see
You know
Dubas.
how many people just kick their phone across the
I know, right?
But a lot of people
I'm sorry,
also
but
celebrate it.
Yeah, I think Dubas is a very good general manager, and I think that he recognizes all of the things that we're saying. I think he sees that we've had 7 years of process. It's time to
the things that we're saying.
No, but I don't think Dubas is so stubborn that he wouldn't move around the pieces on the chessboard. So
when Kerfoot and Hall get extended, we're gonna revisit this conversation.
yeah, okay. If that actually comes to fruition, like that'll be fucking wild, and then he probably should be fired at that moment. But
It'll be too late.
the Leafs have 4 forwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 forwards signed through next season. The rest of the roster is up in the air. And you mentioned PK Subban, Adam, and I think that's so it parallels something that might happen here, and that's with Mitch's no trade clause. PK Subban was traded immediately before his no move clause kicked in, and Mitch Marner, unfortunately, has one that'll kick in on July 1st this year. He is right to be the piece that is moved to relieve this cap situation of the top 3 players being paid over $10 million. We have proof here that it doesn't work. Mitch Marner right now is the easiest deal to move because you can, 1, get value back for him because somebody's going to want this player because he is one of the top players in the league. And 2, the cap relief that you're going to get by moving out $10.903000 million.
Yeah, you got to get your fucking junior number
I know
in there.
Steve hates that 93 in there.
We'll play with a fucking student as our goalie, while our starting goalie, who's been great this season, plays injured as a result. Way to get your junior number in there. Austin in there too.
That $10 million that
Fucking
Dubas can
stupid.
move out, plus whatever he gets back in the deal, can make this an entirely new team. That's a giant fix, but it's not so many steps that we think it is. And I would like to see Dubas. I trust Dubas in that if he's the one who sees that these moves need to be made, I would trust him to make those moves.
I don't think there's room to feel bad for anyone who gets fired or traded.
I agree with you there. I don't think anybody
Like, if they
should.
ended up firing Dubas and Shanahan and they traded Mitch and Austin and Willie, you wouldn't feel bad for any of them because
Like-
the results are what they are.
You know
They
who I
didn't
feel
win.
bad for? Leaf fans. That's what I feel bad for.
Yeah. For us.
No, anyone gets fired who's been there this entire time. I'm like, yeah. What did you expect? And like Dubas, like, it's not just players and personnel and everything. He treats people really well. He
Forward thinking.
forward thinking really helped with their sports science department. Thank you. Their analytics department. He helped establish a lot of things. Like, I don't know, maybe he is. I know no one wants to give him a promotion, but maybe he's better designed for president, and they bring in another guy to be the GM.
Yeah.
Well, I think there has to be.
That could be possible.
Bring in
can't
your
be-
Bobby Webster. Let him be Messiah.
It can't be.
No problem with that.
It can't be though that they continue to do the same stuff, right? Yeah,
No.
at a certain,
Yes.
but like Kyle Dubas had a vision in 2016 or 17, or sorry, 2018 when he took over.
18 he was GM,
And-
14 he was AG.
And there were pieces of that vision that Lou was for, and there was pieces that Lou were against, and it took him a while to drop Zaitsev and move on from Babcock and all the other things that they needed to do to get things better. At a certain point, you have to also recognize that Kyle Dubas is learning too. He's still like not even 40, and I do think he's a smart enough person to learn.
running a business.
But
here.
is he?
That's a very good point.
Well, I get it. Listen, listen. I understand that, but
Go learn
is
somewhere
he
else.
able to depart from one of the major things that he was against when he came into this league? Like, the Leafs, the whole selling point originally, and people forget this, is that get the good young players, get them in the system, and if you need to get tougher, you can trade some of the other young players. Don't draft tough players like the Leafs used to do. They used to draft tough players in the first round because they're fucking morons.
and waste the entirety of their prime.
Yes. So what you do now is you say, okay, well, we don't have the tough guys that we need. But as Steve mentioned, and I think this is really important, when the tough got going in Boston, it was Bergeron and it was Marchand, their best players, getting tough.
Pasta plays with some fuck you.
Absolutely. And
McAvoy.
So is Kyle Dubas so process driven, and we'll find out this offseason, that even after all of this, he'll still keep the core four together? Is he that process driven that it's like, nope, we just didn't have the puck go our way. Look at all the advanced stats, because that is what this management group has done in the past, although they've been changing. The Nick Foligno trade was a big trade. He first off came in and played pretty well, and then he got the back injury, and then he stunk. But going after Nick Foligno and giving up a first and 2 fourths for him was a big change. That was not a player that the Leafs would ever have gone after before.
They needed, like, I know the move to make that year was Taylor Hall. Hall, I think, would have made them more of what they were. And I'm not sure it would have made the difference everyone thinks it would have.
So we're still like, that doesn't solve any of the problems. And getting Nick Foligno wouldn't have solved, like, if he was healthy, it didn't solve any of the problems. The problem was you outlined it, like Mathews didn't score and the top guys didn't play tough enough to score.
But my
And
point
Tavares
though.
got hurt, but they don't delay the game.
My point though, guys, is that we're slowly seeing a change in how this management group looks at this roster. Because what they've done is they've tried to bring it in. They've tried to bring the toughness in, the grit, the experience. Thornton, Simmons, Foligno, Ryan O'Reilly, Noel Acciari, Marleau. They brought all these guys in. Okay, so that didn't work. So they have tried everything else. They've bolstered the defense. The goaltending is actually better now than I think it's ever been. Honestly, he's better than Freddie in the fucking postseason. And I know he's in the third round, Canes fans. Good luck. And if he wins a Stanley Cup, good for him. But man, he wasn't Stanley Cup in Toronto. I can tell you that. This group is learning very slowly and annoyingly that you need that toughness up front. And you need it on the first and second line. And I wonder if this is the year that they finally go, okay, all right, we've tried this. We've learned this. We've tried to bite around the edges. We've tried to add here and do this and what we clearly do not have it.
They got screwed by the cap not going up because of COVID.
Boo-hoo.
And
Boo-hoo. Life's hard.
And they didn't adapt.